everyone, welcome to the Civics class of class 7th. We were doing lesson number 2 of Civics, Directive Principles of State Policy. Topics to be discussed in previous video. Introduction, Directive Principles of State Policy, Fundamental Rights, Fundamental Duties. Terms to be discussed in today's video. Civil Code, set of laws for the citizens of a country. Arbitration, the use of an arbitrator to settle a dispute. Justiciable, subject to trial in a court of law. Topics to be discussed in today's video. In today's video, we will discuss principles establishing economic equality, principles regarding policy of the state, relationship between the directive principles and fundamental rights, difference between directive principles and fundamental rights. Let's start with the topic Directive Principles of State Policy. The Directive Principles of State Policy contributed a lot in establishing a welfare state in India by laying emphasis on economic welfare, social justice, and law, justice, and administration. The directive principles give guidelines to government to make laws and draft their policies according to the objectives of the Constitution. They are a yardstick to judge a government's performance. They enlighten and educated people of what they can expect from the politicians to whom they vote to power. They provide the direction to courts in respect of safeguarding the rights of the citizens. Although the directive principles are non-justiciable, they are backed by public opinion, which is in reality the real sanction behind every law. The directive principles are classified into the following categories. Number 1, principles establishing economic equality. Number 2, principles regarding policy of the state. Now let's start with the first topic, principles establishing economic equality. Some directive principles ensure to put an end to economic exploitation and envisage upon the state to ensure. Here the word exploitation means the act of using resources or the act of treating people unfairly, or the word envisage means view and regard in a certain way. Number 1 policy is that all men and women have the right to an adequate means of livelihood. The state shall ensure that the citizens, men and women, equally have the right to an adequate means of livelihood. Number 2, fair distribution of wealth and resources of the community among people. So the distribution of wealth is a comparison of wealth of various members or groups in a society. According to directive principles, it should be the fair distribution of wealth and resources among the people. Number 3, equal pay for equal work for both men and women. Number 4, just and humane condition of workers. Number 5, that the health and the strength of workers, men and women, and the tender age of children are not abused. Equal pay for equal work is the concept of labor rights, that individuals in the same workplace will be given the equal pay. It is most commonly used in the context of sexual discrimination. The Constitution of India provides the right to just and proper humane working conditions for every worker. The state shall ensure that the health and the strength of the workers, men and women, and children below the age of 14 should not be abused or forced by anyone for doing labor work. As it is well stated, every citizen of India has right to live with dignity and personal liberty. Number 6, that childhood and youth are protected against exploitation. Number 7, a decent standard of living. Number 8, full enjoyment of social and cultural opportunities. Article 39F states that the state shall in particular direct its policies towards securing that children are given opportunities and facilities to develop in a healthy manner and in conditions of freedom and dignity, and childhood and youth are protected against exploitation and unfair means. State shall provide a decent standard of living and freedom should be given to do full enjoyment of social and cultural opportunities. Let's move to the next topic. This is principles regarding policy of the state. Some directive principles serve as guidelines for the government to ensure the following. Number 1, to provide free and compulsory education for all children up to the age of 14. The Right of Children to Free and Compulsory Education Act or Right to Education Act is an act of the Parliament of India enacted on 4th August 2009 which describes the importance of free and compulsory education for children between the age of 6 to 14 years in India under Article 21A of Indian Constitution. It states that every children up to the age of 14 should get the free and compulsory education. Number 2, to promote the educational and economic interests of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and the other weaker sections. Article 46 lays down that the state shall promote with special care the educational and economic interest of the weaker sections of the people, in particular of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, and shall protect them from social injustice and all forms of exploitation. Number third, to raise the level of nutrition and standard of living and improve public health. Article 47 lays down that the state shall regard the raising of level of nutrition and the standard of living of its people and the improvement of the public health as one of its primary duties. Fourth, to organize agriculture and animal husbandry and prohibit cow slaughter. Article 48 lays down that the state shall try to organize agriculture and animal husbandries on modern and scientific lines and shall in particular take steps for preserving and improving the breeds, prohibiting the slaughter of cows and other milch and draught animals in a particular way. Number 5th, to organize village panchayats. Article 40 lays down that the state shall take steps to organize village panchayats and endow them with such powers and authority as may be necessary to enable them to function as units of self government. Number 6, to enact a uniform civil code for the entire country. Uniform Civil Code is defined in our Constitution under Article 44 of Directive Principles of State Policy. It states that it is the duty of the state to secure for the citizens a uniform civil code throughout the territory of India. In other words, we can say that it means one country, one rule. The Uniform Civil Code calls for the formulation of one laws of one community. Number 7, to separate judiciary from the executive. Article 50 lays down that the state shall take steps to separate the judiciary from the executive in the public services of the state. Number 8, to protect national monuments. Here the word monument means old historical buildings. Number 10, to promote international peace and security, respect for international laws, and settlement of the international disputes by arbitration. Here the word arbitration means the use of an arbitrator to settle a dispute. Article 49 lays down that it shall be an obligation of the state to protect every monument or object of artistic or historical interest. And Article 51 lays down that the state shall endeavor to promote international peace and security, to maintain just and honorable relations between nations, to foster respect for international law and treaty obligation in the dealing of organized people with one another, encourage settlement of the international disputes by arbitration. Number 10, to provide equal opportunities for justice and free legal aid. Number 11, to protect the rights of workers in management of industries. Article 39A lays down that the state shall ensure that the operation of the legal system promotes justice on the basis of equal opportunity and shall provide free legal aid. Aid means help to ensure that opportunities for securing justice are not denied to any citizen. And The state shall take steps by suitable legislation or in any other way to secure the participation of the workers in the management of undertakings, establishments, or other organizations engaged in any industry. Number 13. To protect and improve the environment and safeguard the forest and wildlife. Article 48A lays down that the state shall endeavor to protect and improve the environment and to safeguard the forest and wildlife of the country. It is the duty of the state to protect them. Number 14. To eliminate inequalities in status, facilities, and opportunities among individuals. And number 15, to secure a social order for the promotion of welfare of the people. According to Directive principle, it is the duty of the state to eliminate or eradicate all the inequalities in status, facilities, and opportunities among the individuals. Means equal opportunities should be given to men and women, and it should be an equal distribution of wealth, resources among the people. The state shall be responsible for securing a social order for the promotion of welfare of the people. Let's start with another topic, relationship between directive principles and fundamental rights. The directive principles and the fundamental rights together constitute means form the soul of the constitution. They both complement and supplement each other. Both aim at establishing social and economic justice, equality, and a welfare state. The directive principles are non justiciable. The word justiciable we mean subject to trial in a court of law. However, the directive principles have guided the union and state legislature in framing social reform legislation. The Planning Commission of India has accepted the directive principles as useful guidelines for determining the national reconstruction. However, the main differences between the two are number one, the fundamental rights can be enforced by law, but the directive principle cannot be enforced by law. The directive principles are merely guidelines for a government to follow. Number two, the fundamental rights are negative in nature. They are an indication of what a state should not do. They are privileges of citizens recognized by the state. The directive principles, on the other hand, are positive in nature. They represent the directives that a government must follow to create a welfare state. Number three, in other words, we can say that the fundamental rights point out the don'ts for the government and the legislature, whereas the directive principles point out the do's. Number four, we must remember that the preamble means the introduction to the constitution, the fundamental rights, and the directive principles are all integral part of the constitution. Their main aim is to build an egalitarian society along with the concept of socio-economic justice. Now let's see the difference between fundamental right and directive principles in a table form. Directive principles. Number one, they are provided in Part 4 of the Constitution. Fundamental rights, they are provided in Part 3 of the Constitution. Number two, they are not justiciable or enforceable by any court of law. Number two, these are justiciable. The citizen can seek protection from the High Court or Supreme Court. Directive principles are meant for the government to create certain privileges for the citizens. Fundamental rights are privileges in existence for the citizens to enjoy. Directive principles are directions to the state to attain certain set objectives. The fundamental rights are a certain kind of restrictions on the state. The directive principles aim to establish a welfare state. The fundamental rights aim to establish political democracy. Directive principles scope is wider as they deal with wide range of subjects including international peace and security. Fundamental rights scope is limited as they are concerned with individual rights. So students, this is the end of the today's topic as well as today's lesson. I hope you understood the topic. You are able to solve the exercises by yourself. Don't forget to learn the terms. I will come with the next chapter. Thank you. Have a nice day.